Hi guys, today we're going to discuss angles and um, their measures in degrees. An angle by definition is a rotation of two rays that share a fixed endpoint. So for instance, I have a ray, you'll remember from geometry, has one endpoint and goes in one direction forever. And we have a second ray and they are joined by a common endpoint. The one side of the angle is called the initial side, and one side is called the terminal side. So how do we know which is which? Well, we normally have an arc with an arrow, and the arrow points to the terminal side. So in other words, we start at the side that doesn't have the arrow, and we move toward the arrow. So in this little picture, the angle has a counterclockwise rotation, but in this picture, the angle has a clockwise rotation. Counterclockwise rotations are positive degreed angles. Like for instance, that looks like possibly a positive 50-degree angle. And clockwise rotations are negative degreed angles. So maybe that looks like a negative 30-degree angle. Moving on, we have standard position. The standard position of an angle has its vertex. The vertex of the angle is at the origin, and the angle has its initial side along the positive x-axis. So this pink is the initial side, and this green is the terminal side of the angle. That's an angle in standard position. The vertex is at the origin and the initial side is on the positive x-axis. So let's recall the four quadrants. We've got quadrant 1, quadrant 2, 3, and 4. So it kind of makes a backwards, well, it kind of makes a C. So you can remember first, second, third, fourth quadrants. We want to draw a 50-degree angle. So here is the initial side, and we're just going to eyeball it, and we're going to call that 50 degrees. And there you have it, 50-degree angle. You can see the arrow points to the terminal side. Let's draw a 240. So starting on the initial side, that would be 90, 180, 180, and we need 60 more to make a 240. So this is a 240-degree angle. Remember, counterclockwise angles are positive angles. A 542-degree angle, 542. I did a little math for us up here in the corner. 542 degrees is 360 plus 182. So we've got to do a 360-degree rotation plus 180 and 2 more degrees. And that would make 542 degrees. And I forgot we were going to tell what quadrant each of these are in. 542 is in quadrant 3. The 240 is also quadrant 3. And the 50 is quadrant 1. All right, let's move on to negative angles. Negative angles are clockwise. So starting at the initial side of the angle on the positive x-axis, we're going to go clockwise. That's negative 180. Negative 180 and 20 more would make negative 200 degrees, and that's in quadrant 2. And a negative 720-degree angle starting on the positive side of the x-axis, we're going to move negative 360, and another negative 360 makes negative 720. Now this is not in a quadrant. This angle is not in a quadrant. We call this a quadrantal angle. Okay, let's move on. Coterminal angles are angles that have the same initial side and terminal side. Like for instance, let me draw a 270-degree angle. So 270, 90 plus 90 plus 90 is 270. So this is a 270-degree angle in pink. Now let me draw a negative 90-degree angle. So still beginning on the initial side, the positive x-axis, a negative 90 would be a clockwise angle, 90 degrees. You see how a negative 90-degree angle and a positive 270 start in the same place and they end in the same place. These are called coterminal angles, coterminal. One way that we can find two coterminal angles is by taking the original angle and adding 360 or subtracting 360 from the original angle. All you're doing is you're adding a revolution or subtracting a revolution. For instance, I don't think I'm going to do this just for the sake of time. I think I'm going to take a 20-degree angle just to show you. And if I were to add 360 to 20, so 360 plus 20 is 380. Okay, a 380-degree angle. So I'll do that in this purple color. It would start here. A 380 would be 360 plus 20. You see how it starts in the same place and it ends in the same place that the 20 starts and ends. Now, a negative angle, if I wanted to do a negative angle, I could take my 20 degrees and I could subtract 360, and that would give me negative 340 degrees. So let me start with my original 20-degree angle. Let me see if I can get all the purple. That's good enough. So let me start with the original angle, which is 20 degrees. And a negative 340 would be clockwise. 340 degrees would just be 20 degrees shy of 360. So you can see that they start in the same place and they end in the same place. So a negative 340 and a 20 are coterminal. A 380 and a 20 are coterminal. So long story short, you can add 360 to get a positive angle, subtract 360 to get a negative coterminal angle. So let's do that. Determine one positive and one negative coterminal angle. Let's just do number 3. So I'm going to take 120 and I'm going to add 360 to it. So a 120 and a 480 start in the same place and they end in the same place. I'll take my 120 again, and this time I'll subtract 360. So 120 minus 360 is negative 240. A 120 and a negative 240 start in the same place and they end in the same place. They just go different ways around the circle. If I gave you a really big angle, like a 500-degree angle, you may have to subtract 360 multiple times to get into a negative degree measure. All right, a reference angle is the shortest positive distance back to the x-axis. Like for example, if I gave you a 30-degree angle, the shortest positive, always positive, distance back to the x-axis is 30 degrees. If I gave you a 150-degree angle, which would be, oh, right about here, the shortest distance back to the x-axis would be this 30 degrees. So the reference angle is 30 degrees. All right, I think I have more examples than what we really need. Let's do number 6. A 182 degrees. My reference angle would be 2 degrees. It is the shortest distance back, always positive, but the shortest distance back to the x-axis. All right. Complementary angles are two positive angles whose sum is 90. So 60 plus 30 gives us 90. They're both positive. 80 plus 10 gives us 90. They are both positive. Negative 120, if you're starting out with a negative angle, it's not applicable because the two angles have to be positive, and same thing for a negative 20. Supplementary angles are, again, two positive angles whose sum is 180. So 60 plus 120 is 180. Both angles are positive angles, so that's okay. 80 plus 100. 100 is the supplement of 80. They're both positive, so that's a good answer. 120 plus 60, they're both positive. 85, 185. You would have to have negative 5 degrees to give you 180, and our angles would not both be positive. So we're going to say not applicable. And negative 20, we would have to, our angles have to be positive. So again, not applicable. I hope this helps. You guys have a great day.